Don't tell Mom you saw this, Nate whispered, sliding the photo into my hand like it was contraband. We were 12 and 15. It was the summer our dad got sick, the summer the treehouse came down, the summer I started remembering things that didn't quite fit. The photo was curled at the edges, faded with time. But I recognized the setting instantly, our backyard. The crooked birdbath. The old oak tree, still alive then, looming in the background like a watchful guardian. But that's not what caught my breath. There was a girl standing beneath the tree. She was wearing a pale yellow dress, the kind with little ruffled sleeves and white buttons. I owned that dress once. I remembered it. I remembered the itchy fabric, the broken hem. I remembered hating it. But I didn't remember this photo being taken. I didn't remember ever standing there like that alone, arms at my side, face turned slightly, like someone had called my name just as the shutter clicked. I looked up at Nate. He looked terrified. Who took this? I asked. He didn't answer. Just shook his head and said again, don't tell Mom. I didn't. We never spoke about it again. And then life swept forward like it always does, a series of noisy moments that blur the edges of strange memories. Our dad died that winter. The oak tree was cut down the next spring. We moved a year later. New town. New school. Same silence. I forgot about the photo. Or maybe I just buried it the way kids do when no one tells them how to ask the right questions. Until last week. When my 8-year-old son, Liam, came home from school holding a bracelet I hadn't seen in decades. I found it, he said proudly. A girl gave it to me. She said it used to be yours. The bracelet was plastic. Cheap. Faded pastel beads that spelled out my name in crooked letters, Olivia. I stared at it. My mouth dry. Who gave this to you? I asked. He shrugged. I don't know. She said she was a friend. That night, while putting his backpack away, I found something wedged in the front pocket. The same photograph. Only now, on the back, in shaky handwriting I hadn't seen since I was a teenager, was a message. She was never supposed to be buried. Find her. It was signed, Dad. And suddenly, I couldn't breathe. Because my father had been dead for 15 years. Because I had never shown Liam this photo. Because if he hadn't brought it home, I might never have remembered what we buried. Or who. I stared at the photograph for what felt like hours. Every detail seared itself into my brain, the jagged crease along the middle, the faint shadow near the base of the oak, the stiff posture of the girl in the yellow dress. My dress. My backyard. My name. But I still couldn't remember the moment. I flipped it over again. The handwriting was definitely his. My dad's. He always wrote in small, looping letters, tilting his words to the right like he was leaning into a secret. There were smudges near the ink, like someone's thumb had hovered too long. She was never supposed to be buried. Find her. I should have called Nate. Instead, I poured a glass of wine and sat in the hallway outside Liam's room, listening to his steady breathing. He didn't mention the girl again. The next morning, I called the school. I asked if there'd been any new students, anyone unusual. They checked. No new enrollments, no unfamiliar adults reported on campus. I didn't mention the bracelet. I didn't mention the photo. I thanked them, hung up, and tried to work. I failed. By noon, I was pulling out the old boxes from the garage. Half of them were still sealed from our last move. Inside one, I found what I was hoping and dreading to find, a shoebox labeled Olivia, childhood. My mom's handwriting this time. Sharp, impatient lettering. The kind she used on sticky notes and shopping lists. Inside, old report cards, crayon drawings, a broken music box shaped like a swan. And, tucked underneath a stack of birthday cards, another bracelet. Same colors. Same beads. But this one didn't spell my name. It spelled Alara. I froze. That name meant nothing to me. No cousins, no childhood friends I could recall. Just a name, fragile, beaded, tucked away like a whisper someone tried to forget. That night, I waited until Liam was asleep, then called Nate. He answered on the third ring, sounding half distracted, half asleep. Liv? Everything okay? I found the photo, I said. The one with the girl by the tree. There was a long pause. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. My voice was sharper than I meant. You gave it to me. That summer Dad got sick. You made me promise not to tell Mom. Another pause, heavier this time. That was a long time ago. You remember it. I don't think we should dig into this, he said quietly. Too late. Liam brought it home yesterday. Now he was silent. I pressed on. Nate, there's writing on the back now. From Dad. It says someone was buried. Someone we weren't supposed to forget. Still nothing. And there's a bracelet, I added. With the name Alara. He exhaled, one of those long, controlled exhales people do when they've already decided what not to say. Nate, who is Alara? He didn't answer. He just said, don't call here again. And hung up. The silence after Nate hung up wasn't just quiet, it felt deliberate. Like a slammed door in an empty house. I sat there with the phone still in my hand, heart beating too fast, mind spinning through fragments that didn't belong together. A photo of me, but not me, a name I'd never heard, a brother who suddenly sounded like a stranger. I knew I wouldn't sleep. So I did what I always do when I can't make sense of things. I went looking for proof. I pulled out an old fireproof box from the closet. It held all the things I never really needed but couldn't bring myself to throw away. Birth certificates, medical records, a few of Dad's old journals I'd taken after the funeral, still sealed in plastic. I flipped through my birth certificate first. Issued August 5th, 1992. Olivia Grace Marlowe. Only child listed. No twin. No sibling. I checked Nate's, born 3 years earlier. Same last name. Same parents. Then I pulled out one of Dad's journals. Dated 2005. The year before he died. I skimmed through scribbled entries about lawn repairs and doctor's appointments. Then I found something different. June 7th. Liam had the dream again. Woke up crying. Said the girl in the yellow dress was calling for me from the backyard. Liam. That was strange. I wasn't married then. Didn't have a son yet. No one in our family was named Liam. Except now. I flipped the page. Buried things stay buried until someone remembers. The tree's roots know. I hear her in the wind sometimes. I hear Olivia laughing, and I don't know if it's her or her. The handwriting slanted harder after that, erratic, panicked. There were pages missing. Ripped out. I closed the journal slowly. It wasn't grief. It wasn't senility. He'd written something he wasn't supposed to, and someone had tried to erase it. The next day, I drove to my mother's house. She still lived in the same place where we grew up, minus the oak tree. It had been cut down right after Dad's funeral, supposedly because the roots were damaging the foundation. But I remembered that tree. It had been strong. Healthy. Its roots weren't cracking the foundation. They were hiding something. She opened the door wearing the same pink sweater she always wore when she pretended things were fine. Olivia, she said, smiling with her lips, but not her eyes. This is a surprise. I need to ask you something, I said. And I need you to tell me the truth. She stepped aside and let me in. The house smelled like lemon polish and old secrets. I sat down in the living room and placed the photograph on the table. Her eyes didn't move. Her smile didn't falter. I found this in Liam's backpack. Still no reaction. I flipped it over to reveal the handwriting. Then I placed the bracelet next to it, the one with Alara spelled out in faded beads. Who is Alara? She looked down, finally. And when she looked back up, the smile was gone. You weren't supposed to find that, she said. You weren't supposed to find that, she said. I felt a cold wave rise in my chest. So she's real? Alara. My mother folded her hands slowly, as if bracing for something physical. Where did you find that bracelet? In a shoebox labeled with my name. In the garage. Her face twitched at that, just barely. Then she let out a tired, shaky breath. She was a difficult baby, she said, as if we were talking about some neighbor's child. Colicky. Sensitive. She never liked being held. I didn't speak. I couldn't. My throat was too tight. You were different, she went on. Quiet. Predictable. We always said you were the easy one. You're not answering me, I said, my voice sharp. Was she my twin? She didn't respond right away. Then she nodded once, shallowly. You weren't supposed to know. You were so young when it happened. We thought it was better that way. When what happened? A long silence. She stood and walked to the mantel, picked up a small ceramic bird and turned it in her hand. She always did this when she didn't want to look at me. There was an incident, she said finally. One night, you both were crying. Your father and I were exhausted. I went to get bottles. When I came back, her voice faltered. When you came back, what? She was gone. At first, I thought she'd crawled out of the crib. But she couldn't even roll over yet. She closed her eyes. Your father found her. Later. At the base of the tree. I stared. You're telling me she died? She wasn't breathing, she said softly. He said it was an accident. He didn't want an autopsy. Said it wouldn't bring her back. So you buried her. She didn't deny it. You buried her under the oak tree and just erased her? She finally looked at me. You don't understand. You were shaking, Olivia. Screaming in your sleep for weeks. And then one day, you stopped. You stopped asking where she went. We thought it was a blessing. A mercy. That you didn't remember. I rose to my feet. My legs were trembling. You lied to me for 30 years. We did what we had to. It was better for you this way. It was better for everyone. I shook my head. Then why did Dad leave the message? Why did he want her to be found? At that, her composure cracked. Just slightly. He changed after it happened, she whispered. He started hearing things. Seeing her. Said she was trying to speak to him. He was unraveling. You mean he had a conscience? I mean he stopped being safe. That line hit me like a slap. Because it didn't sound like worry. It sounded like a warning. I picked up the photo and the bracelet. I'm going to find out what really happened, I said. My mother didn't follow me to the door. But as I walked out, I heard her whisper something so faint I almost missed it. She never cried, you know. Not once. I drove for an hour with the windows down and the music off. My hands gripped the steering wheel like it might float away if I let go. The bracelet sat on the passenger seat beside the photo, vibrating with memory. She never cried, you know. That whisper had followed me out the door, clinging like smoke. It wasn't just a statement. It was a confession disguised as nostalgia. I didn't go home. Instead, I drove to the old house, our childhood home. The one with the backyard that once held an oak tree and, apparently, something else. The neighborhood hadn't changed much. The hedges were taller, the mailbox was new, but the bones were the same. The tree was gone, of course. In its place, a flat patch of lawn with no personality. Just grass and the faint ghost of what used to stand there. I parked across the street and watched the house from inside the car. It belonged to someone else now, a young couple with 2 toddlers, judging by the sidewalk chalk and tiny bikes. I didn't plan to knock. I just wanted to see. To be near it. But then the door opened. A woman stepped out, mid-30s, hair pulled into a loose bun, baby on her hip. She spotted me instantly. I felt like a trespasser in my own past. Can I help you? She called, friendly but cautious. I stepped out of the car slowly. Hi. I used to live here. A long time ago. Her expression softened. Oh, you're one of the Marlowe kids. I nodded. Yeah, Olivia. She smiled. We still get some of your mail sometimes. Sorry about that. I hesitated. Would it be okay if I looked at the backyard? She blinked, unsure. Then shrugged. Sure. Just don't mind the mess. The kids dig holes like they're training for a mole convention. I followed her through the side gate. The backyard was smaller than I remembered, or maybe I was just bigger now. The grass was patchy, the swing set new. But the space where the tree had stood was easy to spot. It was unnaturally level. Like something had been hidden. Then covered. I walked over, heart pounding, and crouched down. There was a faint outline, not quite a scar in the earth, but close. And near the edge, tucked just beneath the surface of the soil, something white glinted. I reached for it before I could think. My fingers closed around something smooth and oval-shaped. A bead. Pale blue. Plastic. The same kind from the bracelet. But this one had a letter on it. An L. I dropped it like it burned. Behind me, the woman was rocking her baby gently. Funny thing about that spot, she said. My husband tried to plant a flower bed there. Nothing ever grows. The roots won't take. I swallowed. Roots? She nodded. Trees long gone, but the ground remembers. That night, I barely spoke to Liam. I watched him while he did homework, ate his cereal, brushed his teeth. He was humming a tune I didn't recognize, slow, melodic, familiar, and foreign all at once. "Where'd you learn that song?" I asked. He shrugged. "The girl told me. The one who gave me the bracelet." "What girl?" He looked confused. "Alara." "Alara told you?" I tried to keep my voice steady. Liam nodded casually, already shifting his attention back to his coloring book. "She said it helps when I get scared. She hums it when it's dark." I sat down slowly across from him. "When do you see her?" He shrugged. "Sometimes at school. Sometimes at night. She doesn't like the closet light." My heart clenched. Is she nice to you?" He looked up at me like the question was silly. "She says she's my friend." "And yours?" "She says she used to live here." I forced a smile, kissed the top of his head, and excused myself to the bathroom, where I promptly locked the door and sat on the edge of the tub, shaking. This wasn't imagination. Not anymore. Something was happening. Something real. That night, after Liam fell asleep, I pored over old files on my laptop. I searched public archives, birth records, anything that might show a second child born the day I was. Nothing. As if Alara had never existed. I tried Nate again. Straight to voicemail. Then I opened an old external hard drive I hadn't touched in years. One Dad used to back up family photos and videos. Most were familiar. Beach trips, birthdays, awkward Christmases. But then I found a video I didn't remember. The file was titled ONE, Backyard 1993. I clicked play. The camera was shaky at first, facing the ground. Then it tilted up, capturing the backyard from a low angle. It was summer. I could hear cicadas, see our old yellow kiddie pool. 2 toddlers ran across the grass. One wore a pink dress. The other yellow. Both laughing. Both looked like me. The one in yellow stopped beneath the oak tree and pointed up. The camera panned, capturing a swing tied to a thick branch. The voice behind the lens Dad said gently, "Okay, Alara, hold on tight." Alara. She was real. She was my twin. And for some reason, they erased her. I watched the video 3 times. Her giggle was softer than mine. Her movements more cautious. But her eyes, they were exactly the same. Hazel. Slightly too big for her face. My eyes. I checked the timestamp, July 11th, 1993. She was alive. Happy. At least for a while. Why erase her? Why pretend she never existed? I paused the video on a frame where we were both in view, 2 versions of me, side by side. Then I heard it. A whisper. Not from the video. From behind me. "Don't forget me this time." I spun, heart hammering. Nothing there. Just the dark hallway. But in the bathroom mirror, just for a split second, I saw 2 reflections. Mine. And one standing slightly behind me, wearing yellow. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the girl in the mirror. Not just her image, but her eyes, mine, but sadder. Older. Like she'd been watching all along and was tired of waiting. By morning, the whisper was still echoing in my head. "Don't forget me this time." I made Liam pancakes just to feel normal. He didn't mention Alara again, but he hummed that same tune as he ate. His fingers tapped the rhythm on the edge of the plate, like it had always been part of him. After dropping him at school, I parked outside Nate's place. He lived in a small house 2 towns over, quiet, plain, forgettable. It took a full minute of knocking before the door opened. He looked like he hadn't slept either. "Liv," his voice was low. Resigned. "We need to talk," I said. "Now." He didn't argue. Just stepped aside and let me in. The house was dark despite the morning sun. Shades drawn. Dishes in the sink. Bottles on the counter. It smelled like guilt and stale air. "I know about the video," I said. "I know about Alara." Nate didn't flinch. Just lowered himself onto the couch like his bones were heavier than they should be. "She was quiet," he said softly. "Always watching. Always clinging to Dad. Why didn't anyone tell me?" He rubbed his hands over his face. "You were there. But you weren't. You were too young." And then when it happened. "When what happened?" I snapped. "She was gone," he whispered. "Just gone." "Did she die?" He looked at me for the first time, and I saw something crack open behind his eyes. I don't know, he said. One night, Dad said she needed rest. He put her to bed. I remember her not moving. But the next morning, he told Mom she had passed in her sleep. No hospital. No coroner. Just the backyard. A long pause. They buried her? I asked. Nate nodded slowly. I didn't understand. I just knew she wasn't in the house anymore. Dad said the tree would protect her. And you never questioned it? I did, he said. But only later. I saw things live. Heard her. My toys would move. Doors would open. I'd wake up and find muddy footprints in the hallway. Did you tell anyone? He laughed bitterly. And sound like Dad? No thanks. After he died, I locked it all away. Moved out. Never looked back. I was quiet for a moment. Then I pulled the photograph from my bag and placed it on the table. Nate stared at it. His face went pale. I burned that, he whispered. No, I said. You gave it to me. All those years ago. He shook his head slowly. I burned it the night Dad died. I saw it on his nightstand. I didn't want Mom to find it. I slid the photo across the table. Then how is it in my house? He didn't answer. Then something happened. The lights flickered. Once. Twice. Then silence. Nate turned to the hallway slowly. She's awake, he whispered. She's awake, Nate whispered, staring into the dim hallway like it was a tunnel back in time. I stood frozen, waiting for something, a sound, a shadow, a confirmation that this wasn't just guilt playing dress-up in our minds. Then a soft knock echoed from the far end of the hall. Not the front door. The hallway closet. 3 precise knocks. Then silence. Nate rose slowly. She used to hide in there. I grabbed his arm. Nate, don't open it. But he was already moving. Drawn. Like it wasn't a choice. Like something had waited long enough. He opened the door slowly. It was dark inside, just shelves and boxes. And one thing more. A yellow dress. Hanging alone on a wire hanger, swaying gently though no air moved. I stepped forward, heart pounding. Did you put that there? Nate didn't answer. He looked like a boy again, 10 years old and terrified. I stepped closer, eyes fixed on the dress. Pinned to the collar was a note, brittle with age, the ink bleeding into the fibers. She's not gone. She's just waiting. Ask Olivia why. The words blurred as my vision swam. Me? I said aloud. What does that mean? Why would I? And then it hit me. The journal. Dad wrote that sometimes he couldn't tell if it was me or her. I had always thought it was grief. Delirium. But what if it wasn't? What if I'd seen something? Done something? What if part of me had known? I stumbled back. Nate caught me, steadied me. She doesn't want revenge, he said quietly. She wants to be remembered. No, I whispered. She wants something else. He met my eyes. You've been dreaming, haven't you? I nodded. The lullaby, he said. The bracelet. The mirror. I didn't need to ask how he knew. She's coming back, I said. He looked at the dress. I think she already has. That night, I couldn't bring myself to go home. Liam had stayed with a friend. I had made up a story about last-minute work. I went to a hotel, locked the door behind me, and sat in the armchair until sunrise. The photograph was on the nightstand, face down. I didn't sleep. I didn't dream. But just before dawn, I checked my phone. There was a new message. No number. No contact. Just 5 words. I never left the tree. I drove straight to the old house. Parked across the street again. Waited until the sun fully rose. Then I knocked. The woman from before opened the door, surprised. I know this sounds crazy, I said, but I need your help. There's something under your yard. Something we need to see. She hesitated. Then she said, funny. My daughter's been saying the same thing. She says there's a girl in the grass. The backyard felt smaller now, as if the weight of what lay beneath had bent the ground inward. The woman, Claire, stood nearby, arms crossed tightly, her toddler clinging to her leg. She talks to someone, she said. A girl. We thought it was imaginary, but she always says her name the same way, Alara. I knelt in the center of the lawn, the space where the oak tree once stood. The grass was yellowed, brittle. Nothing grew right here. Not even weeds. Nate arrived 10 minutes later with a borrowed ground-penetrating radar unit, a favor from a friend who didn't ask questions. We worked in silence, moving it in a slow grid. At first, the screen showed nothing, just layers of compacted soil. But then, something. A disturbance beneath the surface. Irregular. Shallow. Nate stared at the display. That's not a rock. No one spoke. Claire had taken her daughter inside. We were alone now. We marked the spot, and the next morning, we filed a formal request with the local authorities, citing possible remains. It wasn't simple. It wasn't fast. But the process began. 2 days later, they dug. 6 feet down, in a shallow cavity wrapped in decayed plastic and silence, they found her. A child's remains. Intact. Undisturbed. The dress she wore was yellow. The coroner said it was impossible to determine cause. Too much time. But the DNA test came back. She was mine. My twin. My sister. Alara. There was no grave, no obituary. So we gave her both. We buried her under a willow tree in the cemetery at the edge of town. Quiet. Gentle. A place where her name could be spoken. The headstone was small. It said, Alara Grace Marlowe. 1992? Loved. Remembered. Returned. At the burial, Liam stood beside me holding a bouquet of daisies. When it was over, he looked up and said, "She's not sad anymore." I knelt beside him. "How do you know?" "She told me," he whispered. "She said thank you." That night, I returned home and placed the photo in a frame on my bedside table. The original, the one with the girl under the oak tree. But now I saw it differently. It wasn't just eerie. It wasn't haunting. It was a memory trying to survive. And somehow, she had made sure it did. Before I went to sleep, I checked myself in the mirror. Just me this time. One reflection. But as I turned off the light, a familiar tune floated through the air, soft, like a lullaby. And a voice, faint but warm, whispered one final time. "You remembered me." Then silence. The good kind.